So what do you mean by MVC? What is MVC? Can anyone tell just? MVC stands for what?
Model view controller.
Yeah, what do you mean by that? What is it actually? It is yesterday we discussed. What did we discuss yesterday? We discussed what? Design pattern.
Design patterns.
Right, correct. So in the same way, MVC is also a design pattern. It is a template that gives you a solution on organizing the code of your application. Okay. MVC stands for Model View Controller. What do you mean by model? What do you mean by view? What do you mean by controller? Can anyone tell? What is the purpose of this design pattern? Why do we need this design pattern? What does it solve? Will anyone come forward? Yeah.
Sir, I'll try. It's basically used to layer the application into different sections,
Yeah.
and each layer talks with the other layers in a structured manner,
Yep.
and it leads to lesser confusion. That's what I understood.
Yeah. Correct. So the purpose of this design pattern is generally we will have different concerns when an user facing application will have different layers of concerns. What are all those layers? What are all those four different concerns that an user facing application have? Defining the user interface logic, then control logic, then business logic, and database logic. Okay. Any user facing application, for example, Google Chrome is an application. So it has to face the user. To face the user, it should give some user interface. Okay. And that interface should allow user to interact with that application. Interacting with application means what? You create some buttons, you create some input layouts where you take user inputs. Based on that user input, you do some calculations behind the scene. So this layer which interacts with the user and the logic that you use to define in that layer for interacting with user is called as user interface logic. This is one of the concern, and then comes the control logic. On the basis of user interaction with our application, we have to check, or we have to decide to where this control should go on the basis of user inputs. Okay. If you are searching for some movies, or if you are searching for some what applications, you are searching for some code. So there are different control logic that has been written behind the scene. If you search for movies, it should go to the database or to that particular code which has been written to fetch movies itself. If you are searching for some code for examples, so it should go to that particular business logic where the code according to our search input is there, and it should fetch that data itself. So this gateway from where user input is taken, and based on that user input, the control should flow to that particular code block. Okay, this is what the control logic does. Okay, then we have business logic, where we write the business logic. We do some calculations on the user input or from the data from the database. And after doing that particular data or business logic, we'll send back the result to control logic, and that control logic will again interact with user interface, and user interface will show the results to the user. And apart from these three different logics that we have written, there is one more logic called as or logical concern, which is the data logic. Okay, we have to interact with database, and we have to fetch data, we have to update data, create new data, or delete the data that is already existing in the database. All these things are done in one layer. So we have to separate these four concerns. To separate these four concerns, we have one design pattern. Every user facing interface, every user facing application will have these four concerns: user interface logic, and control logic, business logic, and data logic. We have to separate these concerns. We cannot put everything in main method and tell that, see, this is your application, take it and go. We cannot do that. We have to define user interface. Okay, user interface, the UI should look like this. And once UI is done, and you have to do some coding to receive the user interface, or to show. Now, for example, Amazon, if you log in, for your profile will come up. If you log into Gmail, your Gmail account will open up. So for that, some user logic or user interface logic has been written. So this forms one concern, one layer, and this layer is called as view layer in MVC design pattern. And you have a control logic. Once you log in, means, yeah, there is the user information, right? So yeah, how come that an application come to know that you have logged in? Based on the inputs you have logged in earlier with one system, or with your mobile phone. Based on that user information, the control logic will flow to the business logic, and business logic will check the user information and fetch the data and communicate to the control logic, and control logic will communicate to user logic. Okay, control logic, control layer. Okay, control layer is like a middleman that forms the bridge between user logic and user interface and business logic and data logic. Why this bridge is needed? Because the model layer where our business logic is written. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, something happened. Okay, so why this bridge is needed between user logic and business logic or data logic? Because model layer, the business logic and the data logic that is written in model layer directly interacts with the database. Suppose if we allow user to communicate with model layer directly, then our data become vulnerable. We should not allow user to access data directly from the user layer, or we should not allow user to access the business logic directly. That is why this best practice of using control layer is there in this MVC design pattern. So I just show a pictorial representation. Okay. So this is the MVC design pattern pictorial representation. You have M stands for model, V stands for view, C stands for controller. You have view layer, controller layer, and model layer, and and also the database layer. Okay, in the view layer, you define the user interface. If it is a console based basic application, you need not write any code for defining the user interface. You just write some SOPs or like that, and it will define the user interface layer, and also you write user UI logic in the user facing um, user facing code or user facing method, which is the user facing method in our core Java. um, what with respect to core Java? Hello?
Main method.
Main method. So you write UI logic in your main method. Okay. Then comes the controller, and in basic console based application, your controller is also a main method which receives the user inputs and redirects on basis of that user input. It redirects to one of the business logic that is written behind the scene. Okay, so view layer interacts with controller layer, and based on the user input, controller navigates the control to respective business logics that has been written in model layer, and model layer based on those input does some business logic, and also data logic, fetches data from the database or updates data to the database and does some calculations over that, and then interacts to the control layer. Okay, then control layer will provide the results to the user through or communicates to the view layer, and view layer will provide the result to the user. This is how the MVC design pattern works. Any questions, any doubts? Hello? So we have very important, if someone asks you in interview, explain MVC design pattern, you should tell, you should start from this. There are 4 different concerns that is to be satisfied with any user facing application, which are user logic concern, control logic concern, business logic, and data logic concern. And to separate these concerns, we use 3 different layers in this design pattern. The view layer, which faces the user and where we write or where we code the UI logic, and controller becomes the bridge between the view layer and model layer, which controls the control flow between view and model layer. And here we write the control logic, and model layer defines the business logic and data logic that needs to be done based on the user input and also the data that is present in the database. So this is how MVC design pattern works. Clear? Any questions? Any doubts? Anybody?
So this is clear, but I would like some illustration of a very small example, not the example given by sir in the video, maybe for
Yeah.
some other smaller requirement.
So we will just start with, I'll just start with the task MVC and tell how to implement this, and that will give you an example. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, cool. So now, apart from this, for this project, the task management project that we are going to do here, for this, we are at, have you gone through that video where the steps to build an application is defined? What is the first step of building any application? We have to define what?
Requirement.
Yep. We have to ask for the requirement, and based on that requirement, we have to create what? Prototype, exactly. So we have to create a prototype so that we will show user, is this what you should see on the screen. User will not care about, or the client will not care about the code, what code you are writing to achieve this, but he just cares about the user interface, what I will see, what I can do, and what will be the input and what will be the output. To define this, you will create a prototype on pen and paper or something like this using some drawing tools, and tell basically in real world there will be some UI UX designers. They will create, or they will prototype, they will mimic the requirements exactly using some tools like Figma or Photoshop, like that, so that they tell, this is what you see on the screen, this is what you can do with this application, and if you give this input, you will get this output. Okay, this is called as prototype. You have to build the prototype first, get signed by the user or the client, then you start developing. Okay, and in between, you have to develop. In between development, you have to ask questions again and again to clarify doubts and make your code so strong and robust. Okay, so you will follow the same approach to do this application. It is not the matter of the application that you are going to build, but it is the matter of best practices that you are going to follow to build this application. Earlier batch students, many of them did not do this project, unfortunately, but most of them who have done this project have got placed. This is, I will guarantee you, if you do this project with a very strong code base, then you will get a really strong hold on one programming language with all exception handling. With, if needed, you have to use multi-threading, or for this multi-threading is not required. With proper exception handling, with proper user interface that you build in console itself, everything will help you for interviews. Okay, so we will discuss the requirement, and then I will show the first step that you should do, and then you can continue with that. Okay, so we have to do this task management program, and this is how the prototype should look like. Okay, when you start your application, or anybody, if you build this application and give this application to a friend and tell that you can manage your tasks using this application. So when he opens or when he starts, you tell, to start this application, you just open your command prompt and type Java space your application main class, where your main method is that Java space that main class. So you type this and you can manage your task as given here. Okay, he should understand each and everything that you have provided. So the messages that you give, or the messages that you print on the console should be appropriate, so that the user understand, okay, I have to press 1 to create category, I have to press 2 to load category, press 3 to search, press 4 to list, press 5 to exit. So this is how the first menu should come up when the user starts your application. Then if one is given, okay, you have categories for tasks. For example, I have home category. For home, I should bring groceries. That is one task. I should bring milk, dairy products. That is one task. I should do some cleaning. That is one task. Okay, and another category you create it as Uttara. Uttara is a category, and in Uttara, you have some tasks like I have to watch so and so videos. These videos are pending. These videos are completed. Okay. Then I should do this lab. I should do this project. You create Uttara as a category. You create home as a category. In home category, you add tasks, and in create in Uttara category, which is another category, you create multiple tasks in there. Okay. So when you give an option to create category or press 1, then you should first ask the user to enter the name of the category. You should validate whether this name is already used by another as a business validation, or if it is there already, the category is already there inside that folder. How do you create these categories? What is the database that we are using? We are not using any sophisticated database here. To keep it simple, we will use the file underlying file system as of our own system as the database, and we will manage our data using file system itself. And each and every category that you create should be created as a file. Okay, if you create home as a category, home will be created as the file in one of the folder. And if you create Uttara as a category, it will be created as a file in your folder. Okay, then you should display the following menu. Once you create the category, if that category is not existing, you create the category giving the name. If that already exists, that name already exists, then you should display the message that this category already exists, and you should go back. And then you should display the following menu. Press 1 to add a task. Press 2 to, if that category is created, then you allow this to happen. Okay, for that category, you press 1 to add task, press 2 to edit a task, press 3 to remove a task. All the CRUD operation you do, add, edit, remove, list, and search, and go back. If you press go back 6, it should come back to this main menu. Okay, if you press 1, you should allow user to add the task. How you should allow? You should ask for task name, you should ask for description, you should ask for status, should ask for priority, and created date, due date, tag 1, tag 2, tag 3 example, which is optional. Okay, task name should be not empty, description should not be empty, status should not be empty, priority should not be empty. Only these 3, tag 1, tag 2, tag 3 can be empty. Okay, so you add a task. While adding a task, you should ask for task name, description, status, priority, and also due date. And creating date, you should not ask for him, because that particular date and time you should create and concatenate. Okay, so this is how you do. And when 2 is selected, you edit. You should allow user to edit that particular task and remove or change individual task info. Okay, then a user can remove a task that exists, which exists only. You cannot remove a task which doesn't exist. So, and all except add task, all edit, remove, and list should work upon the data that is present in the file system. You cannot edit a task which is not present in the file. You cannot remove a task which doesn't present in the file. You cannot list task if it is empty. You cannot search if that is not, if the list is empty. Okay, so these things should work on the data that is present in the database, and it should be so strong. I would like you people to come and submit, and I will come to the premises. I will check each and everything. Most commonly, there will be some mistakes, and hope you will not do those mistakes. I will tell those mistakes once you come to me. Okay, and next thing is, when 4 is selected, okay, when you want to search the when you want to list the tasks, okay, you have to list it based on these four criterias. List task using alphabetical order, due date, created date, and longest time. Depending on the user input, the sorting of the tasks have to be done. You know how to sort things, so need not be told. Okay, when 5 is selected, search. You should ask the user to input a string to search. This string has to be searched in the entire contents of the category. Okay, either in the name or email, phone number, description, tags, etc. Okay, email, phone number is not there. Name and tags, name, description, and tags, and following should be displayed. Okay, total number of occurrences. How many of this kind of tasks are there which contains this one search string? Okay, and number of occurrences in description. Then matches found. These things you should display. Okay. In each category, not in a single category, in each category you should display total number of occurrences in here, and number of occurrences in description here, and each and every categories that you found. Okay, you have to put it here. In the outer menu, if 2 is given as input as load category, you should ask the user to input the name of the category which should exist, and then you will display the same inner menu wherein the user can now add, edit, remove, list, search from the loaded task. What does it mean is, when you ask for create category, you get the input of the category name and do all these operations. And even for load category, here category need not be existing, but when you press 2 to load category, that means you are loading the category that is already existing, and you can provide all this menu to do operations on that loaded category. Suppose you have home as the category and you load that category, then you should provide this menu such that we can add task to home category, edit task of home category, remove task from home category, and list the task of that category and search and go back. Any questions till now? Any questions, guys?
No, sir, you covered a lot, but yes, sir, no questions.
No questions? Requirement is clear? It is all written here. Okay.
If you send this document, it'll become clear, sir.
Yep, I will send this surely after this class.
Okay.
Okay. So you have implementation tips, and you have everything that you need to create. You have a start app with main method, and in main method, code the menu, user interaction. This becomes the view layer, taking input, showing messages, invoking business logic, and handle exception. And you have a task bean class. Okay. Do you know what do you mean by bean classes? It is covered in the video. Bean class is nothing but a data holder class. Exactly. So you create a class just to hold the data about one object. Task is an object, and that task has a name, has description, created date, end date, priority, status, and tags. Okay. To hold this data about one task, you create a class and create these things as a as instance variables, and you provide setters and getters. You provide toString hash code and equals that will help you to play around with the collections, and that you use as the data object. That is called as bean class. Okay, you create a task bean class and create these things, and you create a model class with all these methods. Okay, you have to create add task, search, check if category exists, update, delete, get task based on created date, based on due date, okay, it is repeated. Due date, it is also repeated. Okay, then no, yeah, get task based on created date and you give one category. Okay, get task based on created date for all categories. Get tasks based on due date and you create and you give category name for one category. Get tasks based on due date for all categories. Get tasks based on time pending, you give the category name for one category, and get tasks based on time pending and it is for all categories. Okay, so here the steps, detailed steps are given. So your main method will act both as view layer and controller layer, and your this task management task model class will become the model layer, and where you write the business logic and also your data logic. Okay, clear? Any doubts? You have detailed description of how to get with this project. Okay, so now what I will do is I will create a menu, starting menu, and tell you and create separate files and guide you how you can go with doing this. Okay, so I'll just create a file, create a folder here. So you can also start like this. You create a folder, task management project. Okay, where is that? Okay, I will open this with code editor. So you create a folder, task management project, then you create start app dot java. Okay, then public class start app, and you create main method. Then inside this main method, you will create a menu. Okay, so you will just give an SOP. Starting app, task management app. Okay, save and provide the menu. For that you need an int choice equal to 0, while choice not equal to what? While choice not equal to 5, okay, you have to do this. Press 1, 2, create category, and press 2 to load category. Press 3 to search. This will not take more than 2 days, guys. Okay. Press 4 to list. Press 5 to exit and enter your choice. Okay. Save it. So to take input, we have to create two scanners. We create scanner sc1 equal to new scanner of system.n, and copy paste this, save this, scanner sc2 to take the string input. Okay, then I'll tell choice equal to sc dot next int. Okay, sc1 dot next int, and then you will provide the switch cases, switch of choice, and you have how many cases? You have 4 cases. Case 1, break. Case 2, break. Case 3, break. Okay. Case 4, break. Okay. In case 1, what you should do? You should create category. Okay. Where you should create category? What you should do to create a category? Hello? What you should do to create a category? If one is given as input, you should first ask the user to enter the name of the category. Okay, how can we do that? You should respond, guys. Enter the name of the category to be created. Okay, then what you should ask for? String category name equal to sc2 dot next line. So you save this, and what you should do? You have to create one folder, right? So I'll create a folder, task management data. Okay, and we copy this, copy path. Static final string path. Okay, and you should give this. Generally, where do we store the constants? What is the best practice to store constants?
Interface.
Interface, correct. So we'll follow all the best practices. We will create one constants dot java file, and it is an interface, and we will do it here. So public string path. Okay, it is read-only state. Public final public static final. To make it read only as a constant, we have to add public static final. It is a string and it is a path. Okay, so now here we'll come back. We have to check whether this file name or the category name that is entered by the user. So I'll just run this. So copy this. Enter the name of the category to be loaded. Okay, save this and 3 is enter search string to search. Okay, then we come back here. Fourth is enter list of categories. Okay. Now I'll just run this and I will SOP entered category is this. Okay. You see, menu got displayed. Starting task management app, press 1 to create category, 2 to load category, 3 to search, 4 to list, 5 to exit. Okay, I tell 1. Enter the name of the category to be created. I create it as home. Okay, so entered category is home. Now the task is to create a file in this folder with this category name, a text file, and if and only if it doesn't exist already. Okay, we have to search whether task management data folder contains this file or not. If it contains, we should tell that the category already exists. If it doesn't contain, we should tell that or we should create a file with that particular name and give a message that category is created and do all these job. Okay, how can we do that? How can we do that? Hello? Guys, please speak out. Where should we write that code?
Call some function, sir. Some method.
Yeah, that if this user interaction, enter the name of the category to be created, is done by the view layer. And since this is a console based app, this particular main method itself acts as a controller layer. Now, after getting the name of this category, we have to call a function which should be ideally defined in the model layer. Okay, for that we have to create one more file called as task model dot java. So inside this class we have to create a method called add task, or sorry, create category. Okay, for this we have to receive category name as parameter, and what we should return, public. If category created, then it will return a boolean true, else it will return false. Okay, so to create category, what we should check first? What we should check first?
Category existed.
Yeah, how can we check that? How can we check that? For that, we have to create a file object equal to new file of, and give, we have to import constants dot path. What happened? Import file ID. Okay, so this created the file path. Then our file contains file object. Now it contains file dot so we will get the file array using what? How can we check whether one file exists or not in a folder? Hello? This is not okay, guys. We have to create a file array, files and file dot list files. This will give you an array, and you run a for each loop. Okay, and inside for each loop, if file dot exists, not file dot exists, file dot get name dot contains, not dot contains, dot equals category name, then you return false. Okay, else you create a file, right? How do you create a file? File new file equal to plus category name plus dot txt. Okay, new file dot How do you create a new file? There is on a method, right? It exists, then file dot create. No, how to create a file? I also forgot. Do we have a function? No. How do we create a file, guys? Google. Or we had that here. File IO. Google it. Create new file. File dot create file. Okay. So and so this is how we create file. So we'll run this. Press 1, Control C. Okay. I press 1, I press home. Okay. Just go and see in. What happened? Oh, yep. What is the problem? Create it as a static file, static method. Then save it. Task model dot create category name. Okay. If this returns true, we will print category name created successfully. Okay. Else we will print category category name already exists. Okay. So we'll run this. So we have to create category. We press 1. I create home. So category home created successfully. Now you can see in task model what happened. So just go here. Where is that folder? We did not create the data here. So let's check what's happening. So
Do we need to
need
put
hmm?
forward slash new file?
No, we will just see whether this file dot exists or not. Dash out file dot exists. Okay. File dot exists true. Then why not? This is happening. File and this also. Not creating. It is giving for both ABC created successfully, both are true, means file exists, but it's not running properly. This happens, but our code is correct. If file exists, we will return false. If file doesn't exist, we'll return. Let me see. This directory. It is directory. It is taking everything.
In the path.
So the file exists and file is directory is true and create new file. I'll just print this. One. So it's not creating the file. If it is not creating the file, then why it is returning true? Path is correct. Let's check on that. Constants, path.
We need to put the forward slashes for constant path.
No, double backward slash will also do. That is not the problem. Dot get name. ABC. Okay, cool. This is why it is. Got it. It's my mistake. So the name of category, I create home. Yep. So go back. Got it? What was the mistake? Here, yeah, path. For path, we have to give this for concatenating the category name, we had to give this slash. Okay, so now I go and create the category again with same name, and it should not allow. Okay, so I press 1. I press name of the category to be created is home again. Okay, you see, category home.txt, it is false and it is returning true. Why? Because after everything we are returning true. So we should tell if not of category, then return false. Okay, so we will comment this out, we'll comment this out, everything else will comment. Okay, so we come back and clear the console and run it again. I'll create one home. So category home already exists. This is what it should do. So this is how you should follow the MVC design pattern, where we interact with the user from the main menu and do the control flow to the respective. Here for creating category, I have created one method called create category, which is in task model class. So we have to create that class for each and everything for loading category. You have to create one more method for loading category, create one more method for searching category and listing categories, and your code base should be as modular as it can be. Okay, it should be in chunks. See, here itself we have written some 50 lines of code, but if you keep writing everything here itself, and in task model we have written some 40 lines of code just to achieve one functionality. Okay, you have to do all these things. It will you have to write some thousand lines of code. So make it modular and write comments. This method is for this, this method is for this. If possible, you can create this menu itself as a separate method here in the main startup class, because you have to create one more menu inside this case 2. So you will create menu 1 method and you call that method in case 1 or in this while application, and you have to create menu 2 as a separate method, then code everything with respect to menu 2 there. Okay, one more thing I want to just tell you that how to create some bean classes. Okay, you have to create, not here, for that you will create a task bean class dot java. Okay, and it should create only data members like string name, name of the task, string description of the task, and blah 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 everything, and you will provide getters and setters. Okay, then you will give toString, then equals, then hash code. You will just use to, this is a just Pojo class, means plain old Java object class, which is used to store data of the task. Okay, so this is how you code task bean. Whenever you need to do any operation on a task, you use that task object, either to add it to a list, search, sort, everything you do on this task object, not as a single if you have task name, task description, you just have a string and you just concatenate and you store it as a string object. No, that should not happen, because you have to do more and more operations on this task. So you have to create it as a separate task bean class. Clear?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you have to separate the concerns, write the logic as modular as it can, follow all the best practices. As you saw, I just entered ABC. Okay, it will raise input mismatch exception. It should not rise. You have to handle each and everywhere the exception. You have to think what exception it can rise. Who knows? User can enter this. Can you control user? No, you cannot control user, but you can control in your code what kind of input you can process. Okay, if suppose any mismatched input is given like this, you have to give some message and tell give proper input, and it should run until and unless he gives the proper input. Okay, so nowhere in your application this should come up exception. Okay, you should print proper message, handle exception, and give way to enter the input again. Okay, then only your application will become more efficient and pakka 100% perfect. Nowhere on the console you should be able to get this exception. Okay, and your program should never crash. So this is the thing that I wanted to tell. Any doubts, any questions on this thing? You
Yes,
see
sir.
that
Yes, sir.
that files got created here because of that path. This thing I did not observe this that time. Okay, yeah. Any questions?
Sir, in we have a start app
Yeah.
.java, which is like the class corresponding to the view layer.
Mm-hmm.
Do we only need to have one class in the view layer, or can we have multiple if needed?
You can have multiple if needed. You can make it modular.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else? Anybody? Everybody clear with this? Any questions you have? This is very, very important. Please do this. I will not share the code. I'll just put up the video to my YouTube channel. If you want, you can go there and get that. Okay. So please follow all the best practices. Please do all validations. You can create separate classes and methods for doing validations. You can create interfaces to hold constants. You can use everything that you have learned till so far in core Java. Okay, whatever you think, it is your project. You are the owner of this project, and you should think like this: how the user of my project, my application should feel when he uses this. This is the only thought that you should have when you create any application, when you code. Okay, if suppose I am the user, what I should see, what I should like to see when my application runs, is this the kind of output that I should see when you place yourself as the user and think with the user perspective and code. Okay, this is the only thing that can make you a better developer, because you think, when you think that you are the user, you need a best application, right? You think if suppose you use YouTube, you use Facebook, on your face it tells it's an exception. Well, how do you feel? It is not working. How do you feel? In the same way, you should think, if someone uses your app and on his face you tell, on his input you tell it's an exception and your program got crashed. It should not happen. So think carefully. Everything, nook and corners, you should take care of and code. Clear?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You have 2 days of long weekend. Please complete this and submit it on Monday. Okay. Is it okay? Monday is okay. Everybody? Prajwal, Vijay, Mahesh, Aarti, Shri.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Monday is okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So you do not need more than 24 hours to do this, guys. Please do this. It will really help you. Okay. You complete this. We'll start with SQL and JDBC from next week. Okay. Cool. Any questions regarding requirement?
So please send the document now only.
Yep. Now only I will send. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you.